Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Talking Wrestling. And today, I have Markboy316. Nice to have you on, Mark.
Hey, thank you very much.
And I want to talk about some things I did talk to Gregor Kramer with on the first episode. And first thing is, do you think Martha Hart will allow a Owen Hart tribute show if it's not connected any way, shape, or form to the WWE?
Yes, because the simple fact she has allowed other organizations not affiliated with WWE to induct Owen into their Hall of Fame or in their stuff, and she will allow merchandise by other companies, but not WWE. So the problem is with WWE, not the other promotions. I think yes.
So this is just a tribute show, more or less like they had for Brian Pillman.
For Brian Pillman.
Kind of like that. But of course, this be having like some other people that's his friends and family and stuff talk about him throughout the show.
Yes, I think she would allow that.
What do you think of Ronda Rousey?
Actually, I think she picked it up pretty quick, the wrestling part of it. Other than that, not much. She was good in UFC. I think she should stick in UFC. She was a heat magnet. She had the heat. She drew heat. Yes.
I think she should have stayed in UFC.
Yes.
Because the way I look at it, she was not great in the ring, and she wasn't good on the promo. So why was she want to be in the wrestling business?
The only thing she was good for was to get heat.
And the only other thing I can see that she's good for is more or less draw some attention.
To take the mainstream media and to take UFC fans to come over and watch wrestling. That's just about it.
Do you see any problems besides the crowds in wrestling?
Yes, they should really start focusing. They have probably the best talent pool they've had in years, and I think they should be pushing the right people and stop this 50-50 booking, and please stop with the cinematic matches. I think they're just getting ridiculous.
Well, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, in my opinion. Yes, it looks good, but too much of it is also a bad thing.
Yes. Like look at the talent they have. Daniel Bryan, Drew Gulak. I think he's awesome talent. Murphy, Seth Rollins. He's actually being shown on Raw. I'll give him that. Kevin Owens was on the pre-show of Extreme Rules. Kevin Owens on the pre-show. He should be way higher up than that. And people like Cedric Alexander, Ricochet, people like that should be used, not just given a squash match. Like, you got a 3-hour show, put him in there somewhere.
And say, in my opinion, with like Kevin Owens, he should be in the main event status.
Guaranteed.
And I don't. Quite honestly, Vince McMahon needs to leave the wrestling business. Let's someone else like his daughter Stephanie, his son Shane, and then of course his son-in-law Triple H run the business. Because they're going to be running the business anyway.
Yeah, look at what Triple H is doing with NXT. A 5-match card of NXT TakeOver is doing a lot better than the main roster. So look what he's doing with that. Vince is not touching NXT at all. It's awesome.
Exactly. That's why I'm talking about. They should let Triple H, Stephanie, and Shane run it instead of him doing it. For peace sakes, he's in his 70s. For peace sakes.
Yes, I think I'll give him all the credit in the world. He works hard. He thinks, lives, and breathes the business, but he's lost touch with the fans. He used to be so good for the fans. He's just lost touch. And I don't think he should leave it to Stephanie because I think she's more like her father than Shane is. And I think Shane doesn't want to be in the business itself. He wants to run his own stuff. I think he should leave it to Triple H and let him go.
Well, you also have to look at it that Triple H isn't going to be given the WWE automatically anyway. It's going to be left to Shane and Stephanie when he passes, and along with Linda.
True, but I hope he gets some part of it. I hope he gets to run the day-to-day operations.
Well, I think he will because of Stephanie.
Yes.
Let's say Stephanie will be supporting him in anything possible with it because she can see what he's been doing with NXT and wants to want him to run Raw and SmackDown as well. Say it's kind of stupid that he got demoted anyway, as much as he does with NXT.
Yeah, like how many NXT people are begging to stay on NXT and not even go to the main roster? As soon as they get to the main roster, they get stupid gimmicks.
Well, I come back to the topic of what Wrestling Rampage said before. Triple H builds up, Vince McMahon builds down.
Yeah. Honest to God.
Every time I see a NXT star go to Raw or SmackDown, I always see them build down for what they was in NXT. If you look at Authors of Pain, not even on the show. Bobby Roode, not even on the show.
Yep.
And multiple others, not even on the show.
Like look at Adam Cole, longest reigning NXT champion. He just lost the title. I hope to God he doesn't go to the main roster. If he does, I hope he gets a great push, but probably not.
Yeah, that's one thing about Adam Cole. He's great in the ring, great on the mic, but if he goes to a Raw or SmackDown, he's just going to go to the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And say, look at like Drew McIntyre. Before he left the WWE, he was nothing. But when he came back, and what really helped him was Triple H.
Went to NXT first. Yep.
Yeah. It was Triple H because he was in NXT.
Yeah. So much talent. Like,
say, I like Drew McIntyre, but I think what really helped him was Triple H during his time in NXT.
And see, I see him dropping the title at SummerSlam against Orton. Supposedly that's the match, and then winning it back in front of fans. I think he deserves at least that.
I can see Drew McIntyre retaining the title until there are some fans, then dropping it, and then regaining it eventually. But that's just me.
I think winning it with really no fans there at WrestleMania 36 really didn't do much for him. Like, he's the great champion now. He's doing good, but in front of fans would have been a whole lot better.
Hey, some other problems I can see with in the wrestling business in general, it would have to be like blood, for example. Because if you think about like steel cage matches or Hell in Cells, you think blood, and where's the blood at anymore?
They are overdone. The gimmick matches are overdone.
Yeah, the gimmick matches are overdone, but if you look at there's the blood, you don't see the blood.
Yeah.
Look
at the cage matches from the 80s. And the 80s, they had blood. They were PG back then. Look at that.
And say you can still be kind of risky without have to be overdo it.
Yeah.
Say look at
Hell in the Cells not anything. They don't mean anything.
Yeah. Say look at like a year or two ago, Alexa Bliss on Raw and Mandy Rose on SmackDown. Where Alexa Bliss was topless with a crew member walking in, and Alexa Bliss in lingerie. That was kind of risky, but not too risky.
Yeah, but don't you think though they have stockholders and they have network exec looking at them that they can't push the envelope like they used to?
Well, yeah, but you still can try to be a little risky, but not too risky where they're on your back.
Like, did you see the segment with Sheamus and Jeff Hardy when he threw the piss in Sheamus's face?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's still kind of risky, which is not technically too risky.
Apparently, Fox producers were pissed.
I don't know. I wasn't pissed. For P6, it was done before.
I know. But I guess it's not everybody's cup of tea.
Say, move on to the next topic that I have. Who do you think is at fault for the Montreal Screwjob? Bret Hart, Vince McMahon, or both?
Ooh, that's a good one. I always thought it was kind of work myself, but I can kind of go on Vince's side, because wouldn't you do the same thing if you had a company and you were running against somebody else? It's not really he didn't trust Bret. He didn't trust Bischoff because he didn't want the title to appear on the show, which I would have done the same thing.
I say both, because if you look, you can look at it this way, and this is credit to the Undertaker on the last Ride special, that he could have had added somebody to the match, had Bret be pinned by that third man, and then eventually that third man lose to Shawn Michaels at the next pay-per-view. Say,
yeah,
if you want,
that's true. He could have. Yes.
Say, so yeah, Bret should just drop the belt no matter what, but Vince could have went that way as well, instead of just screwing Bret. At least left on better terms with Bret.
Yeah, and he had signed him to that 20-year contract, and he kind of regretted that, and he had creative control in his contract. So even Bret could have said, no, I don't want to do it with the third man, because he still had creative control. He could have told Vince, no, I don't want to do it with somebody else.
Yeah, but I watched the Hitman with Shadows the other day,
Yep.
and Bret said he had the creative control within the last 30 days that he was an active member of the WWF. It wasn't during the whole time.
That's true. That is true.
But he only gave. I say Vince only gave him creative control because he was leaving.
Yes, that's my opinion too. Yes.
But if he had creative control and Bret didn't want to drop the title to Shawn, he should have added a third man, like Undertaker presented on the last Ride special.
Yeah. He could have done it himself. Taker could have done it himself.
Yeah, because what they could have done was had Undertaker go out and say, Shawn Michaels didn't defeat me by himself. He had Kane interfere in the match. And demanded Undertaker to be added into the match. And I think that would have been a great way to go forward with that.
Yep.
Because
I can see that happening.
Because I can quite honestly see that happen, because if you remember, Kane debuted during the very first Hell in a Cell match.
Blood 97, yeah.
And say, why couldn't they just go it that way instead of the screwing Bret?
And then they did it the following year to Mankind and The Rock.
Yeah. But it wasn't as big as it was in Montreal. Say, what do you think is the best era in wrestling?
I'd have to say Attitude Era, but I always liked the Ruthless Aggression Era. And, of course, the Golden Age. So I got kind of three. From the Golden Age to the Ruthless Aggression Era.
Me, I had to go with combination of the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. Because the Attitude Era had its flaws, and so did the Ruthless Aggression Era. But you had to take the good with the bad. A lot of the times.
Attitude Era was much must see TV in the Attitude Era. You always have to see what Austin was going to do. If you were man, that was must see TV. And
Yeah.
Ruthless Aggression, they had the best roster. They had the best roster and the great talent at that time. The SmackDown 6 with the Guerreros, Benoit, Angle, Edge, great matches. Like they had a huge roster back then. Still do.
And so you also have to give a credit to D-Generation X. Is that, in my opinion, one of the greatest factions of all time, along with the NWO, for my opinion. Which I still say D-Generation X was kind of a rip-off of the NWO, if you think about it.
That is true.
Because if you look at it, if you just narrow it down to one topic here between the two, what's one thing that both of them is known for? And that's they did what they wanted when they wanted to do it.
Like just their rules, yeah.
It's just that NWO did it in more of a serious way, and D-Generation X did it in a comedic way.
Yeah, juvenile delinquents, and yeah.
But you also have like Ruthless Aggression there of like John Cena and Randy Orton's debut. You got Chris Benoit on the rise here. You got Kurt Angle really on the rise here. I know he kind of debuted in the Attitude Era, but he was really on the Kurt Angle was really on the rise during the Ruthless Aggression era.
Yeah.
Until he got
Eddie Guerrero.
Yep, Eddie Guerrero.
A whole bunch of Rey Mysterio was there, Ruthless Aggression, and like.
Say, what do you think about Undertaker's streak and him losing to Brock Lesnar?
Not a big Brock Lesnar fan. I thought they could have used it for somebody else younger. Why put it on Brock? He didn't need it. He was already over, and he was always the beast incarnate, no matter what. And they could have used somebody else, I think, to elevate their career better.
I think they should have waited about a year and had him lose to Bray Wyatt.
Yes, so the Fiend, yes. Obviously, yes.
And say, if they didn't want him to lose to the World's Bray Wyatt, wait until like the 35 to have him lose to the Fiend Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, somebody like that.
And all you had to do is push the Fiend up a little earlier than what they did. Because they started doing the Firefly Funhouse and all that like the night after WrestleMania 35.
Yeah. How about somebody like Drew McIntyre? Imagine how much that would have made his career and maybe had a big push for the title.
Yeah, that would have did it. I just think that Undertaker should have lost to somebody that had a Mr. like similar character than what he has.
Yes.
Where it's you want to know more about that character.
That's true. But it could have fit into the Scottish psychopath's gimmick. How brutal, how ruthless is he? Stuff like that. It would have fit in his character, I think.
Yeah, he could have. And say, with like Roman Reigns, he was the second one to defeat Undertaker. Really, how did it help Roman Reigns? He didn't go out the next night and turn heel or anything.
Should have beat the holy hell out of the Undertaker where he stood after the match and turned heel.
Yeah. If you remember the next night on Raw, it took him like 5 minutes just to say a few words.
Yep. What's your opinion on Roman Reigns? Do you like him in the ring? I think he was decent in the ring. He just couldn't cut a promo.
I say Roman Reigns was decent in the ring, but he needed a manager, for my opinion.
Yes.
And someone there to cut his promos, be his mouthpiece, and all that. and say, I think if WWE would have a long time ago got rid of Brock Lesnar, they would have done, and then put Paul Heyman with Roman Reigns, they would have conquered two things. One, they would have saved money, a lot of money, because Brock Lesnar is the biggest contract they have right now. And two, they would have kept Paul Heyman and had Roman Reigns with the greatest mouth there is, at least alive today.
Yes. And I think they desperately need more managers in wrestling right now. There's some people who can't talk for anything. They can't talk worth crap by themselves.
And saying, Bobby Lashley's another one that can't talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And say that's why they put him with MVP, because MVP can talk and he can't.
Yeah. But they need a lot more managers. Back in the day, Christ, they had Bobby Heenan, Jimmy Hart, the Slickster. They had who else? Who did they have there? Captain Lou Albano,
Harvey Whippleman.
Harvey Whippleman, a whole bunch of different managers. Like, holy God.
They need more than what they got in the company. WWE has one manager, and that's in NXT.
Wow.
And if you want to transfer over to like AEW, there's only two managers I can think of right now in just wrestling. And that's really three. There's three in AEW right now. There's Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, and then recently Vicky Guerrero with Nyla Rose.
And you could say Jake Roberts too, because he's a manager role.
Okay, for Jake Roberts, yeah. I forgot about Jake.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Wow, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. They quite honestly need to try to get more managers in wrestling altogether, especially in WWE.
Yes.
Knowing that there's only one manager in WWE, and that's in NXT. Well, if you count Paul Heyman, there's two, but he's not there all the time.
I guess no, an MVP with Lashley, I guess, but yeah.
Say if you go back to like the 80s and the early 90s, and there was about maybe around 15 of them in total.
Easy. Yep, easy.
You're talking about Bobby the Brain Heenan, Jimmy Hart, and multiple others.
Mr. Fuji.
Yeah, Mr. Fuji. Jim Cornette.
Yeah. There you go. Whole bunch. Grand Wizard, Arnold Skaaland, if you go even further back.
Yeah.
Like incredible. The Slickster.
Yep.
A whole bunch of other people. Like, God. Like they're not, how can I say, there's no place for them really to go learn except NXT. There's no, like, back in the day, they had training schools, training facilities. You learned the hard way. You paid your dues. Now they just come out of NXT. They're ready to go. Like,
I've seen where WWE recently bought Evolve.
Yeah, they own part of the company.
And say if that's 100% true, this is not confirmed by WWE themselves. So if this is true, what they could do is use Evolve as a like a OVW for its like a developmental program for NXT. Get them ready for NXT. Then of course NXT will help get them ready for Raw and SmackDown. But on the other hand, like we said earlier, really Raw and SmackDown is not where you want to be anyway. NXT is.
What's your opinion on having them bring Sasha Banks, bring Charlotte Flair on NXT? Do you think it helped at all?
I think maybe it kind of did, but not really. I think Sasha Banks is great on her own and everything, uh, but I think, quite honestly, they need to more or less try to keep them separate and everything.
Like, look at Charlotte Flair. She went to NXT and she dropped the title, and there was no mention of her going for a rematch. She wasn't pissed about it. She didn't care about it. Like, what the hell? Like, really?
Yeah, me. They need, that's what they need to try to continue with is build up a great product like Triple H is doing down in NXT, and then continue with the great wrestling product instead of getting just minor things in with wrestling and then just throwing them to the side eventually.
Well, look how they did it back in the day. WWF used to make stars. WCW didn't know how to make stars. They had the NWO. 50 people would get out of a limousine. They were part of the NWO, and they had the cruiserweights. That was about it that they had. WWE was making stars. He was making the Dudley Boys. They were making the Hardys. They were making Edge and Christian. They were making stars. What's the problem? Can't they make stars anymore? Like,
well, yeah, that's another thing, that they're like modern WCW, that they don't want to build the stars. So the problem that I can see with WWE right now is that they have so much talent, they just don't know what to do with.
very good. Biggest talent ever.
And say what they need to do is get rid of some of the talent that they're not going to use, just so they can get, focus on the ones that they do have.
They should have left Paul Heyman in charge of Raw and not put Bruce Pritchard. Sorry to say. They should have left Heyman right there and have Vince nothing to do with it whatsoever. Leave it to Heyman and Bruce. But Vince doesn't even have to touch it. Just let them run the business.
I seen that Paul Heyman wanted to leave.
Wanted to leave? Wow.
Say, I don't know if that's true or not, because I haven't heard that Paul Heyman confirmed this or not, but I heard that Paul Heyman wanted to leave as the Raw director.
Wow.
But honestly, they should have left Paul Heyman as Raw with Raw, and quite honestly with Bruce Pritchard with SmackDown.
Yes. And see, what's the problem with that now? It doesn't matter who's running the two shows, who has the final say on everything that happens on the show.
Vince McMahon.
Until that changes, they can't do crap.
Me, what I say should happen is Triple H should run NXT, Paul Heyman should run Raw, Bruce Pritchard with SmackDown. But one thing with Raw and SmackDown, Triple H has the final say so over Raw and SmackDown instead of Vince McMahon.
Something to that effect. Yes, that will work too. Yes.
Because the way I look at it, if Triple H can be overseers of it, but still have kind of people running Raw and SmackDown, and therefore make his job a little easier.
Yep.
There won't be that much pressure on him.
I don't think Paul Heyman was ever a guy to take orders well. He always wanted to run the ship himself.
Yeah, but on the other thing with Paul Heyman is that he didn't want to pay his guys.
Yeah, that is true.
He wasn't good with money.
That is true. Yeah, he wasn't good with money.
It's if he was better with his money, then ECW would have lasted longer than what it did.
However, WWE was backing ECW.
Yeah, but the problem is, if he was better with money, WWE would have had to back ECW.
Correct.
Because
Yes. That is true.
any other topics you're interested in talking about?
What else? Do you think Owen Hart should have had a run with the WWE title?
Yes, I do, because I think the right time would have been with the Bret Hart feud in '94.
Steel cage from SummerSlam, he should have won it there. Then he could have dropped it later on.
Yeah, at least I say at least a 2-month feud. Let him have a 2-month feud with it, and then he could have dropped it in like December.
Yeah. And I think personally, WCW didn't know what to do with Bret Hart. They had no clue whatsoever to do with him.
Say if they did that with Bret, think what they would have done with Owen if he jumped shit.
They had no. See, by the time Bret got over there, it was kind of the Russo. Russo came in '99. Like, holy crap! Like,
Say, and that's another thing. I hate Brock Lesnar and Vince Russo to death, along with Ronda Rousey.
Russo, have you heard the rumor or seen of that Vince actually fired Russo, sent them over to WCW to put him out of business? Do you think that's true? Do you think he sent them over there to freak him up?
If it is true, then I can see where he's coming off of, but I don't think it's true. I think from Vince McMahon's point here is Vince had enough of Russo's bullshit, because Russo had one good idea out of 100, and Vince Russo took that one idea and rolled with it.
Yes. And he had other people around the creative team to help him out. Yes. Like, Russo thinks he's the one that single-handedly did the Attitude Era. He's the one that was personally responsible for Austin Rock. That's bull crap. That's absolute bullshit. Like,
and so if you look at what's the worst thing that Russo did in WWF? Fall Brawl. The Fall Brawl is the worst thing in my opinion that he did, because if you've seen the Dark Side of the Ring episode for that, multiple people, including Dr. Death, Steve Williams, got badly hurt in that.
Yes, I saw that.
And he still thinks that's a good thing today. How is that a good thing? As multiple of your talent got seriously hurt.
Yep. See, he never took it seriously. He always had to do the soap opera stuff and the weird stuff, and oh my god, like Cornette said, he's never been in the ring. He was never a wrestler. He was never a wrestling fan. He ran a video store, for God's sakes, and was the magazine editor. Like, what the hell? Like,
anything else you want to talk about?
Well, that's pretty good. It's pretty good on my part here, but I agree with you with the managers and all that in WWE. The talent, they should be used better. And like, God, there's so much they could do. That, see, what I can't figure out, Vince was so good with the fans back in the day. He would give you anything. He would bring back the devil himself if he could, and if it was good for money. And he gave you what you wanted. And now he just could care less. He's making so much money, he could give a crap. He's getting money from Saudi Arabia. He's getting money from all over heck. And they should have turned John Cena heel and left him Thugonomics. Just because he does Make-A-Wish. Just because he does Make-A-Wish, you don't have to shove it down our throats and say that he's the highest guy that gives the wishes for the kids. You don't have to do it. Hogan did charity back in the day. Did you ever hear Hogan being pushed out much for charity? No. Like, incredible. You couldn't turn him heel because he did so much work for the kids. Like,
yeah, I find that stupid with John, but I'm just glad he's gone, because he really got pushed down our throats. Yes. And now he's gone. I thought we finally get a break from him.
I think the same thing was happening with Roman Reigns. It was coming to the point where, dear God, stop it.
Yeah, he was also getting pushed down our throats and everything else. And that's a that's one reason why I hate Roman Reigns. I know he has this family lineage, but
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean he should be pushed down our throats. But he should have.
Family lineage. How
But
much did that help him at the Royal Rumble when he won? He got booed, even with The Rock raising his hand.
what he should have fucking done was turn heel the night after he beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania 33.
Yeah.
And that would have helped him in his career.
It's simple to say, but it's not easy to execute, I guess. My God.
It should have been. He went out the
Yep,
next night
I know.
at the beginning of Raw being booed.
Yep. And
That
he just
was
stood there like a
easy.
moron. Didn't know what to do. Yeah.
So all he had to do was come out and say, I beat the greatest of all time, The Undertaker. And he don't have to say those words exactly.
Or say to the fans, yeah. Or say F you to the fans. F you, I'm the man. This is my yard. Like,
yeah. And instead of saying, this is my yard now. That's all he said was, this is my yard now.
Yeah. So many missed opportunities. Do you think Goldberg should have ever been defeated?
That one is a tough one to call. There's a lot of debate between fans. But I do agree with Eric Bischoff and Kevin Nash and everybody that he should have been defeated, because who else did you have him there for him to defeat? Because he already defeated everybody that there was on the roster. What was you going to do? Bring a whole set of new guys in just for him to defeat?
I always thought maybe the DDP match he had at Halloween Havoc 98, that would have put over the Diamond Cutter even more. Beat Goldberg in the center of the ring with the Diamond Cutter.
Yeah. I think that was a great match, but the problem is with Goldberg, during his time in WCW, he didn't have that lengthy of matches. He only had only a few matches of lengthy matches. And DDP, the one with DDP on Halloween Havoc, was one of the lengthy matches that he had in WCW.
Yeah. I just didn't like the stun gun finish. That was stupid. Like, what's happening with the stun gun? They could have found a better way to do that. Expose the turnbuckle, ram him in there, then hit him with the jackknife, or find a better finish.
Yeah. Did you hear about this year's SummerSlam?
No, what did they say?
Well, one is that the plans for SummerSlam was originally for Asuka to face Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's title. But it's been changed.
I don't know that.
Then, of course, I heard now that the plans now is for Sasha to face Bayley.
Yeah, because they always had the big blow-off match in mind. I can see that happening.
And plus, did you know that the original location has been moved?
Yes, I did hear that one. They'll probably do it from the Performance Center again, I imagine.
Yeah, I didn't see why would they, I do not see why they would have kept it as long as they did. My way I look at it. They knew
where were they supposed to be?
The TD Gardens in Boston, Massachusetts.
There's a lot of the virus and stuff up there in New York and Boston area, so I can't see why they would even try that.
And say I don't see why they would have kept it in Boston. Basically because of the pandemic that's going on. They should have just kept it at the Performance Center like they've been doing, and at least until the pandemic keeps on or goes down some. At least 95% down.
Did you hear anything about the Hall of Fame? Is it supposed to be that weekend?
I have not heard anything about the Hall of Fame. All I know is that they still consider the Hall of Fame or the Hall of Fame class of 2020 Hall of Famers as of now, even though there hasn't been a ceremony.
Bulldog deserves to be in guaranteed. I don't mind Batista. I just don't like the 2 or 3-time Hall of Famers. I never liked that. Takes a spot from somebody else.
I don't really mind it, but it's just like last year. They had 3 people to go in all in 1 year to be a 2-time Hall of Famer, like Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart or Booker T. Which and they don't. Which technically Booker T is a 3-time Hall of Famer. It's just he's a 2-time WWE Hall of Famer.
Yes. Like wow. I'm sorry, but what did the Bellas ever do to get in?
Nothing. They didn't do nothing.
I don't understand that bit.
Is there anything you want to add or want to talk about?
Do you think Victoria or Molly Holly would go in there pretty? I think they both deserve to go in, both of them. Other than the Bellas.
I think both Molly Holly and Ivory should go in there.
Ivory's already in. Victoria.
Well, Victoria then.
Yeah.
But the problem is I cannot think of like inductors for them. Who do you think you should induct them?
Ooh, Victoria, Steven Richards, because she spent most of her career with Steven Richards in WWE. And Molly Holly, why not get Hardcore Holly?
That's who I was thinking for Molly. Is for was Hardcore. But for second one for Molly, Victoria, because if you remember her famous match at WrestleMania 20 was hair versus hair against Victoria.
Correct. Yeah, that will make sense too.
So I guess that you can kind of for both of them you can kind of say that for Victoria could induct Molly and Molly could induct Victoria, along with Steven Richards for Victoria, like you mentioned, and Hardcore Holly for Molly.
Oh, that would be probably the best scenarios. But I really don't think the Bellas deserve to go in. Yes, they married Daniel Bryan and John Cena. No, like,
well,
what did they do?
Actually, if you remember, Nikki Bella did not actually marry John Cena.
Well, yes, but I mean, they went together, or they had a relationship.
Like, yeah, they had.
What else did they do? Like, yeah.
What do you think about the Celebrity Wing and the Warrior Award?
I think the Warrior Award actually should be used for like referees, personnel behind the camera that you never see or hear of. They deserve credit too. I think that should be used for them. And the celebrities, stop putting stupid ass celebrities in there. I'm sorry to say.
I think the celebrities should never went into the WWE Hall of Fame because the celebrities, what did they do for wrestling? It was never a wrestler.
They have a one-off. Yeah, they have a one-off appearance or something like that, and they go in. Like, what's that? Like,
and quite honestly, for like the referees that you mentioned, I think they should have had like a referee wing instead of having like a Warrior Award.
Yeah. Well, instead of giving it to, which is good, they still give it to charities and stuff and stuff like that. It's all right, but give it to cameramen, backstage people, agents, referees. Like, do it to them. They're always the unsung heroes. Like,
yeah. I guess we're going to end it there. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a big old thumbs up. Leave it down in the comment sections down below. And I really enjoyed talking to you, Mark. And hopefully,
same here.
Hopefully we can do it sometime again.
All right. Thank you, sir.